Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us again for another round of consultant talks. Today's hot topic is virtual reality, group VR, some of the components and solutions we use in the Barco virtual reality world. You guys may know me. We've done several of these. My name is Charles Duncan. I'm the consultant liaison for the western 2/3 of the country, but we call it this kind of national consultant resource. But also, Damon is the same thing. So he lives in the Northeast and ready to help any of you guys out in that territory while we're all living in this world of just all virtual meetings. We're here to support you across the entire country. So when you have questions, design needs, you're looking for drawings, looking for price lists, MSRP, ROM, consulting quotes, that type of thing, reach out to us. We're here for you. But when we get to these specialized sessions, we bring in an expert, and today's expert on VR is Jeff Belzel. Jeff is here. He's kind of manages that portion of our business, and very informative what we're talking about today. Damon, you got a few words you want to jump in, kind of how your role's been here at Barco?
Not much. Joined Barco 10 months ago now, I think, and so covering here in the Northeast. So, but really it could be the East Coast, so anything in that Eastern time zone since we're virtual. So looking forward to hearing more about virtual reality.
Yeah. Jeff, how about a quick introduction and then we'll get rolling?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Jeff Pelzel. I'm a business development manager with our entertainment sector in Barco Americas. I've been with Barco about 10 years, 3 years in this role. Specialize a lot in projection, LED, and image processing. And this year I picked up our virtual reality space because it uses all those technologies. I also work in immersive and projection mapping type of projects and environments. So happy to be on this call and talk a little bit about our group VR solutions.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. So today, really, we're going to talk about the scope of the conversation today is, again, about Barco VR. And we want to talk about what is Barco Group VR. And, does that mean there's just more than one person interacting in a 3D environment? And or is it a multi-channel 3D? So we're going to go through that and hopefully can break that down and describe what it is. And so we have a series of questions for you. Let you kind of just give us all those answers as we go through here. So starting off with, let's just say, Barco specializes in group VR. So starting from this point, what's the difference between group VR and standard VR applications?
Sure. So for most people, when they think of VR, they think of like a headset or a goggle, and that's basically single use or individual VR, HMDs as they're called in the industry. The issue with those is when you need to scale to have multiple people looking at the same VR environment at the same time, they get very cumbersome and they get very costly to have multi sets of those at once. So what we do at Barco is we basically make an environment that's virtual reality that allows multiple people at the same time to see the same virtual reality environment so they can collaborate and work together in a project or a application.
Mm-hmm.
We're not limited to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask you. You said they were limited by any particular size or the cave size or anything like that.
No, cave size depends really on budget, but most caves are optimal for about 8 to 10 people on average. And then there's actually no limitation on the number of glasses and emitters we can put in that environment. Now with COVID and social distancing and all that, we need to be mindful of that now going forward. The great thing is the goggles, they don't clean very well, whereas the glasses, there's already existing glass scrubbing stations for people that run through different types of customers and so forth. So it makes it very safe for this environment.
Right. I can see nowadays to get 10 people into a cave, the cave's got to be considerably larger, which sounds good for Barco, right? That gets more of the reality is you're limiting your number of people based on social distancing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, great.
So Jeff, what markets are our group VR inserting itself into, and what are the trends that we're seeing in this group VR space?
Yeah, so actually Barco got its start quite some time ago, mainly in the automotive and manufacturing market for design work. That's really where the group VR stuff started, and it's kind of grown from there. Obviously, the oil and gas industry is another one where they're needing to look at virtual oil rigs and things like that. And then what's recently caught on really big is two sectors. One is the AEC market, which is the architectural engineering and construction market. You can save a lot of money by prefabbing a building in a VR environment before you actually, pour concrete and build things. And then the other really good one right now is in collegiate or in education, particularly in the medical industry, where they can actually do modeling of viruses for obvious reasons, and then virtual operations for heart transplants or optometry, where you can't really experiment on things like that. But with the VR environment, you can practice and do it over and over before you do it in a real environment.
Mm-hmm. So did you mention like oil and gas? That's what I remember seeing the most when I've gone to visit our facility in Belgium, though I haven't been lately. The example and demo we had there was walking down to an oil rig. That's very impressive. It's still pretty big for that market as well.
Yeah, it is. The oil and gas business is, doing very well, obviously, in the Americas, and we do quite a bit of work in that environment. Again, kind of like the automotive and medical and AEC market, any of those parts that can be checked in a virtual environment before they actually make the part can save a considerable amount of money having to, do testing and remake parts over and over because they fail for whatever reason. They can be pre-tested and virtually, and then have a really good confidence before they physically make the real parts or structures.
Now, when you
we actually do have a.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. We do have a question from Steven. And his question is do participants have independent control and navigation in the VR environment, or is everyone seeing the same thing with one driver?
Yeah, so for the most part, and it depends on the complexity of the system and what's designed in. For the most part, everybody's seeing what one person is driving. And so there's basically a joystick type of device where they can dive into the different parts of the content. But we do offer the capability of dual eye point, which allows two different users to be in the same environment at the same time, but track to what they're individually looking at. So it kind of be like two people riding in a car, looking out the windows at different things or looking at the speedometer at a different time. And each person is able to see what they're directly looking at, and as they're moving their head, what they're seeing.
Yeah, and you get the different perspective if you're in the passenger seat versus the driver's seat. That makes sense.
Exactly.
When you start to talk about these different views, let's talk about let's call it the solution, a little bit more of the hardware. And what I mean there is, what are you looking at? I'm going to leave this as an open-ended question, let you kind of take us into what are those solutions that we're looking at coming from Barco now.
Yeah, so we basically have three different types of solutions. There's what we call a power wall, which is a flat wall that enables 3D. And you can kind of consider this to be something like a movie theater where you would go see a 3D movie. It's in 3D. It's not terribly immersive, but it allows for other capabilities with that wall. And that's how we started Group VR. That's kind of the older technology. Newly for this year, we have what's called a canvas, and a canvas it's basically a flat screen with tilted sides, and it allows some immersion, so it allows you to get more into the content, but yet still as a somewhat flat wall, or can be in the back of a room or something. And then the full Monty is a cave, where it's actually a box or a room, and all the sides, even the floor and ceiling, can be illuminated with content, and you can actually go completely envelop yourself into an immersive environment. So we offer all three of those types of solutions in varying sizes and degrees of complexity.
Okay, great. Damon, you have another question?
Yeah. So there's different products that Barco offers, right? And so because of our visualization technologies, what are some of those different variations of VR displays?
Yeah, yeah. So in the old days, starting with the power walls, that was all done with rear projection, and typically on either a glass or a semi-rigid, like a plexiglass type screen. That's still predominantly used because there's advantages of projection that work really well. Then came along LED, and we can do that now with a flat mount LED. And then also we make our own screen material now called Rigiflex, which is it's a hybrid screen that kind of think of it like a drum head being stretched across the drum. So it allows a frame that can be installed in the site, and then the screen is tensioned along it. And that offers the advantage of being able to do installations without having to remove walls to bring a hard wall in, or it can go up a cargo elevator in boxes instead of having to have the trouble of bringing in a solid wall. Mm-hmm. And then along with our projection and LED, we offer image processing to handle the front end. So if you want to see different things on the screen, you can switch very easily from one thing to another. And we also are a vendor or an OEM supplier for a lot of the glasses and tracking and cameras and so forth.
Yeah. Since you mentioned LED, I got a simple question for you. So
yeah.
Better? Is it the projection or the LED, or what drives some of those decisions today?
We get that question all the time, and basically there's pros and cons to both. Projection requires space, like especially in a rear projection, you have to have that space behind the Rigiflex or the wall to put the projector and the lensing and give it the space to develop the screen size. But the colors are very rich. With our 6P projectors, we can do Rec 2020 color space. So it allows you image quality for 4K resolution and color space. The advantage of the LED solution is you don't need the space behind the wall. You can mount it directly to the wall, so it saves you space. LEDs are very bright, so for high ambient applications, LED walls are better, so it can overcome a window allowing the sunlight in or things like that. And the LEDs are also kind of going in fad, and a lot of people are migrating to LED solutions. But really, we don't have a preference. We're more of a systems provider. So if somebody has a room that's better for projection, we'll recommend projection. If somebody has a space limitation or they need the higher ambient capability, then the LED solution works better.
Right. So Jeff, I'm going to take a little side trip here. You were talking about several different solutions, several different applications, as well as the product. I'm going to give you a chance here, if you can, let you maybe share some images, bring up some of the pictures. If you can, share your screen and kind of talk through some of those applications with some images to support that. I think that'd be pretty beneficial.
Yeah, so probably what I'd like to show first is one of our newer caves we've done. Sorry, just loading the picture. There it is. Okay. Okay, so this is a cave we did. This is a rear projection cave, and what's really nice about this, it's actually the three sides, so left, center, and right, but also the floor and ceiling. And this is at the University of Nebraska. It's a medical school, but I will also now show. Sorry, you guys are going to see me navigate through some photos here. Let's see.
Yeah, you might have to share the individual photos, I think, the way you're doing that.
Yeah, I'll just.
It's the some of the tests. You can either share your screen or you can share the actual image. So it's your choice how you want to use it in this tool.
Yeah, I'll just do it this way. So, and everybody should be seeing this. So this is actually that same cave with all sides being projected. And obviously it looks blurry because it's in 3D, and unless you have the glasses and we're there, you wouldn't see it correctly. But this is a fully immersed Italian cafe. Again, this is some of our test footage. But again, you can see the floor, the ceiling, and all the sides. You can actually walk into this. You can walk up to those chairs. You can see the floor as you walk along. You can't obviously walk up the stairs physically, but you can walk up to the staircase. So it's a really impressive type of system.
Okay.
So that would be an example of a cave. Let me go now to, I'll show you what a canvas application would look like.
And I think these canvas applications, if I've heard right, you have the flat screen, but you also have some 35-degree screens that go along with that.
Correct. So, yeah, let me.
Should make a little bit more of a, say, a hybrid environment where you could do a little immersive, you know, for using this same room for, you know, numbers meeting that we all just love. You can still run PowerPoint on it too, I guess.
So can you guys see this?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so this is an example of a canvas. So again, it's a flat screen with tilted sides. And the advantage of this canvas is actually running not in VR right now, but it's running content using QuickShare. It's split the screen into 3 images. So you have the left kind of larger image, and then you have the right top and bottom image. And with our QuickShare product, obviously you can have different people presenting different things with this type of screen system. But then also you can go into a 3D environment. It's a side angle, and you can see they all have the glasses. So now what they're doing is they're actually going into this CAD file, and they're looking, and they can zoom around and go within you know, the file. But you see also still on the right the drawing plan of the building and where this room is in the building. So it gives a lot of versatility, especially, like I said, in the AEC market, in some of the other markets we discussed.
Yeah, so Jeff, we had a question. I missed it when you had that 3D cave up, but kind of go back to that one, your original picture without the image on it. And so the question is, in that cave, was that let me go back and look at what it scrolled.
Was it a calibration image?
Was that a calibration?
Yes, that was.
Calibration pattern.
Yeah. This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically, yes, that's a calibration image that they use to align. So this particular cave has multiple projectors per surface. So in order to align the images on the sides, and then also to get the corners correct, we use this type of test pattern to get everything square, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're going to let Damon jump to the next question in a second, but just kind of heads up, everyone. I'm going to unmute everyone because I think a few questions are showing up now. And I think there's 3 of you online that may want to join in. So just heads up, I'm unmuting if you guys want to join in now. I just hit unmute, so feel free to kind of join in as we continue on.
Thank you.
All right, great.
And you'll be able to control your mute now that Charles has done the unmuting. So
that's very trusting of you guys.
If we had 30 or 40 consultants on, you know, you wouldn't want that many consultants talking at the same time. So, but cool. So moving on to the next question. Can barcode solutions be utilized other than non-VR? So like you kind of mentioned some of this already. Adding in, so digging into the image processing a little bit more, you know, when we use like Event Master Series and stuff, what are some examples of where we've plugged that in?
Yeah, so upstream, after the server's producing the content, we can actually insert an image pro. And the advantage of that, it allows us to have multiple inputs. So if somebody, for example, if this were like a corporate conference room, you can have a movie playing through a DVD player or Blu-ray player. You can have, obviously, laptops via QuickShare to show Excel or PowerPoints for company presentations. And all those inputs can be put into an event master and then driven into the screen. And then we also have the capability of going into the VR mode. Everybody puts glasses on, and then that input would be selected from the servers and go into those files.
So there's a fun one to ask. I've always heard these VR solutions are a little bit cost prohibitive. Is that true? And is it really difficult when you look at the financing price, capital expense and so forth?
Yeah, so honestly, a cave is going to cost some money because if you have a multi-sided projection surface with multiple projectors and a framing and screens and everything, it's going to cost some money. But with a simple power wall or even a canvas, the cost is not prohibitive. In fact, I think our canvas systems start MSRP around $100,000, but considering an LED wall the same size or a tiled LCD wall, it's comparable in price. And that would include, the framing, the screen, and the projection systems behind and lensing and everything. The power walls, those could be just one of our LED walls with VR capability added, and that's a very inexpensive upgrade. By the way, our F series projectors, our UDX series projectors, our XLD series projectors, and all of our XT series LED are all capable of doing 3D or stereo capable displays. So all of the stuff we sell today, that's current product, is capable of 3D.
Awesome. So content, right? Content is king, right?
Yep.
And so when you see these wow factor installs, especially with these immersive environments and virtual reality, who is creating the content and or how is that content created? How does it really get to the wall? I guess the question is. We have consultants on the line, so they're going to think about that.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So depending on the industry, a lot of these industries have their own softwares they use. Oil and gas is a good example of that. They have their own systems that CAD and so forth they use. And then to get those into 3D, if they're not already 3D, there's third-party solutions like TechViz that will do a conversion of a CAD file into 3D that allow you to work with it in a cave. And then thankfully, because of all the e-gaming and esports and everything, Unity and Epic Unreal engines are very good at helping us produce 3D content. And that's like a lot of the medical research is being done with Unity right now. It's basically a gaming engine that's being modified to drive medical software of a live beating heart or eyes or whatever type of parts of the body. So lots of ways to do it.
Yeah, they're doing a lot right now, right? Like I've seen Unity's getting its hand into all kinds of stuff, even for film and all kinds of sectors.
Yeah, and Unreal also Unreal Epic, they're the ones doing Mandalorian, all the content for that. I mean, it's those two companies are heavily involved in VR and virtual reality applications.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
if I might. That example you showed with the 3 screens sort of offset at maybe 35, 40 degrees or so, the
canvas.
Yeah. So is for that to render properly visually, does the content creation need to incorporate that layout, or is the image processing set up so that my head's having trouble wrapping itself around how those geometrics are corrected for?
Yeah, that's what the image processor, our E2 or S3, depending on how complicated and the number of inputs needed, would do. So basically, it's called a canvas product, but what it produces in the video world is known as a canvas. So it's kind of a double play on the same word. But yeah, our event master would actually, you would build that canvas during the initial setup. And those 3 screens would be part of the total canvas of that product. And then the inputs and outputs could be controlled via Event Master software. But we've also done installations where we've put like a a Crestron touch panel, so end clients don't have to deal with all that. They basically say, I want the screen split into 3 with ClickShare. I hit this hot macro, or this macro to go all virtual, or this macro to do whatever. So we can help with all that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are you able to speak to the installation side of it a little bit? So if we're looking for, technicians to or a company to install something like this, do they have to have a specific certification? Do you send folks out with the contractor?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So we have a project office in Belgium, and with a plans or a CAD drawing of the room that we're working in and what the requirements are, they can actually build an entire system in CAD, and then we put together a proposal based on that. And then typically we would get a system integrator involved that's comfortable, and we have people all over the U.S. that do this. Or we can train people that they want to start doing this type of integration. And then we do typically send our own engineers out for this type of project, because almost all of them end up being custom per use. The only exception to that would maybe be a canvas, where it's just a box SKU, and we'd still send out help to set it up, but it wouldn't need near the engineering on the front end.
So it's safe to say for our consultants, when they're looking to do a project like this, obviously they would reach out to Charles or I, right? We would then get you involved. But when they go through their bidding process, you'll be able to provide maybe a list of integrators that are qualified to do an install like this. Because typically most consultants, they put a project out to bid, 3 to 5 bidders bid on that project. So we want to make sure they're qualified bidders.
Yeah, we do that. So and if they need more than one for bid purposes, we can suggest 3 different system integrators across the U.S. that are familiar with this type of install. Yeah, absolutely.
Great, cool,
awesome.
I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to build on that type of question. I just figured it was something I wanted to ask on your behalf.
Yeah, really. I mean, if we need to do one of these systems, or we want to get some information, we just need the room size, any ambient conditions, and then basically it helps to have a budget, but we can work with that also, and then we can put together a design that can help.
Yeah, you were leading right into what my next question was anyway, and it's kind of like, from the consultant perspective, what should these guys be watching out for? There's always things that could trip you up, and you just hit one of them. I believe it's the heat and humidity changes like that. But what are other things you should really watch out for if you're putting together that design? And keep it in mind, from a design consultant point of view, how can we best help our I'm gonna call you consultant partners, because we love you guys, right? But how can we help you guys out even more?
Yeah, so obviously the amount of space we have to work with has a lot to do with it. The resolution needed, features. Do they want dual eye point, or is single eye point okay? The number of users, how many people are going to be in the environment? Do they need a fully immersive cave, or can they get by with a hybrid system like a canvas, or even just a flat wall with 3D? So basically, we just need to know the variables of the installation site, and then we can work with that. And part of our design process is not only how bright it is and what the resolution, but we also can tell you the BTU load of a system like this for HVAC. We can help with how many users can be in the space at the same time. All those sorts of things we can get into in the design.
Right. So I think, since we're right at the 30-minute mark now, just kind of last little bit here for you. We talk a little bit about the design assistance. Damon and I might be the first step, but obviously we're going to bring in the specialist for the virtual reality type products. But Jeff, can you tell us just a little bit about the software that Barco uses to try to do some of this configuration? Is there anything to really highlight there? Is it particular to VR versus what we do on Event Master and E2 stuff?
Yeah, so the software that are you talking about the software that designs an installation system, or are you talking about the software that drives this system to the projection or to the LED?
I was thinking more of the software that helps design and lay out the system. I know that when we talked to some of our engineers before, we had some particular software that was of interest, and kind of bring that up as kind of the final point here.
Yeah, so we like I said, we do that in Belgium, and it's a proprietary software we use. But the good thing about it is it'll take any type of Pro-E or AutoCAD or any types of the standard CAD inputs to help design the room and the scope. And then when we output it, we obviously do it in a PDF format so somebody can email it around and look at it. But also we can output it in the native file type that was sent to us if it's needed for BIM or whatever type of application the design team.
Right. So is it pretty safe to say that our design assistance pretty much covers most of the parts and pieces that any of our consultants would be looking for? I guess at the end of the day, I want to be able to say, you guys can come to us and rest assured that we have every component covered to make sure that you guys look good when these bids kind of go out to the street. I apologize if I got silenced my phone.
Yeah, we have to be that way because all the industries use different things, right? Like the architecture industry, everything seems to be, BIM related files. So we have to be able to work with those. Some of the aeronautical or automotive, they use a lot of Pro-E and things like that. So we can basically work with all.
Okay. All right. Well, Garrett, Richard, Stephen, you guys have any other questions? Feel free to jump in. I appreciate you joining us. We try to keep these to 30 minutes, so it's just little quick bits of information. Each week we try to do it with a different expert online in different categories. Last week was ClickShare. Before that, we've done image processing to projection to control room specialty type products. But we do appreciate you coming in. I'll give you a second here for any further questions while I silence my phone. All right. Again, I appreciate you guys joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.
I got it.
Quick. We'll just do that.
I wanted to just ask if there's some information you guys can distribute on the signal processing and signal sources, specifically, let's say video cards, software that generates the images, and connectivity for the image rendering, whether it's a projector or a display, something sort of very detailed that kind of walks us through what we need to plan for a customer to be able to use an environment like this. And we talked about it a little bit, but I think I think I need some more info to really wrap my head around the content and content servers to support this.
Yeah, you kind of a couple different pieces there that the three of us could help out with. First off, when you start talking about some of the video portions of it, you may be alluding towards the E2, the S3s that Jeff mentioned earlier. That creates the canvas that we can work with. So multiple windows transitions, transparency, opacity layers, everything kind of fits within that. So in that product, that's really a built-to-order product. And Damon and I, for example, can absolutely help out with this one. When you start looking at the size of the canvas that you're creating to start with, E2 with the appropriate inputs, output cards that go into that, we can help put that system together. We can do those quotes and get that information to you right away. How it goes into Cave, that's absolutely where Jeff can jump in, and he's got a couple of engineers that he works with that are excellent at this as well. We can provide more information on that. So yeah, I would say reach out to Damon and myself and let us kind of start down that path. And we need to do some one-on-one training to get you comfortable where you want to be. Absolutely, that's something that we can offer to you.
Yeah, that's fine. And I've had some small group with Damon on the E2. And that's not.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, it's not really sort of. It's more about the sort of before the E2, in terms of pixels being generated by the content production device. Let's say the server that's running the software that creates this. So before the E2, I think is really more of interest.
Yeah. So we're actually Barco is agnostic in that department. So we'll take our RE2 or our Event Master product will take a signal from anything. If you're looking for recommendations, Probably the biggest partner we work with is a company called Silverdraft, and they design and build these boxes, these clusters that generate this type of content. Now they're actually agnostic on the software side. So, for example, I don't know what industry you consult in, but like if it's an automotive application, the automotive company will already have a software that they use for this type of work. And so in that case, that software would be loaded on one of these cluster boxes. And then the hardware would actually generate the signal with the video cards and the processing and send it to our event nets.
Right. So that card, that signal just comes into the E2, for example, as on an HDMI input, or coming in as a source to input.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Are you guys familiar with? Yeah, I think so. Are you guys familiar with Igloo?
Yes.
And they kind of do a soup to nuts, start to finish product. That kind of spatial mapping is, I think, what we're really talking about here, being able to do without necessarily having to have Igloo build the environment. And it seems like this is comparable. Is there any sort of anything you want to talk about in terms of sort of differences or what you're able to do?
Yes. So Igloo is I would call them more like a system integrator, where they actually provide a solution. And they might use Barco or Epson or Panasonic projectors, and they might use, Draper screens, and they might use whatever. And they kind of put the system together, like you said, and do the install. We've worked with them a little bit, but they typically use more down market products for a more cost-effective solution. The advantage of Barco in most cases is going to be our duty cycle and maintenance advantages. So our projectors are designed for heavy duty cycle, long life, low maintenance. And we, like I said, we have worked with Igloo, and they are a company that provides a turnkey solution.
You guys mentioned like applications like TechViz allowing you to take things like AutoCAD and turn it into a platform that you could use in the cave or the canvas. Are you able to speak to any other third-party softwares? I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing like light industrial applications, or you said oil and gas, but I could also see like animation and production studios looking for something like this in more of an entertainment industry. I don't know who's like. And I
So we
just don't
have
know what they would need to be able to, make use of that.
Yeah, so what I would say in that case, we have a sales engineer that helps me a lot with technical questions like this, more on the software side. His name's Marius, and if you want to reach out through Charles or Damon to me, I can get you in touch with Marius, and depending on the application, we can get you a third party. We work with all these people, we know them, and we can get you in touch with the right type of software application that can get you the 3D content rendering you need.
Yeah, Jeff. Last time Marius was on here with us, we talked a little bit more. I think he mentioned RTT is, I think, company that does some of the car companies, and I think you mentioned earlier Unity and Epic. So yeah, there's a few content creation companies that are out there that might specialize in their specific areas, be it oil and gas versus medical versus automotive.
Right. That's right. So yeah, if we know the industry or the application, we can get you in touch with the right software people that can do that.
Very cool.
Yeah. All it starts with Damon and I. You guys can reach either one of us. It's just our first and last names, Charles.Duncan@Barco, and we'll pull that together. And if we need to do a special team session, and we'll get back on Teams in that case, since we all use that one every day except for these webinars. It's funny. I'm just gonna laugh about that for a second. But we'll all get online together and walk through whatever you need to make sure you're seeing the information, get what you're looking for.
No,
All right.
thank you very much.
Okay. Well, this
Great.
has been a great, enlightening, webinar this time. We have been 10 minutes over. I think I always personally like that. We get a little content delivered in 30 minutes. If we can talk another 20 minutes, and that's measure of success in my book. So anyway, I will now hit the stop record button since we had a question come up. I just kind of left it hanging a while ago. So that's all got on the recording as well. But thank you guys for joining, and we are stopping the recording now.